This is huge for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to be talking about some major injury updates for Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball, as well as an update into how Zach LaVine has been doing in this training camp. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today we are jumping into the updates for both Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball, as they've actually been looking pretty good. In fact, we'll start with Lonzo Ball here. And so Lonzo has come out today after practice and said that today was perhaps maybe one of his best days, and he said he continues to get better. And this is huge for us because today was a practice in which they did go ahead and scrimmage. I'm understanding that they actually brought some refs in here as well. And so he got a chance to get a little bit more of a game feel today. This was a lot different from some of the videos that we've seen where he's been doing some individual work. He's been dunking, stuff like that. And then also too, just a random pickup 5-on-5. So this is a bit more competitive. And so one of the things he did talk about after this particular practice was that, one of the things that he is still trying to figure out is how to maneuver on the defensive end, which is something that I said was probably going to be a challenge because, well, he's going to have to figure out a way to maneuver around screens, stay attached to his man that way. And then also, too, you got to think about it. When you're on the defensive end, there's going to be a lot of stopping, starting, change of pace and things like that. So he's got to get accustomed to doing that. And then also, too, maybe you might be coming down off a rebound, randomly going for a steal, stuff like that. So it's just kind of getting his feet underneath him. And so, we'll see what happens to him after today. But this is a great sign for him to come out, especially since in day one, he said that, look, I have a brand new knee. And so for him to have this good a day, we know that he is now doing contact. We know that he is able to handle a scrimmage, and it looks like that they're managing him well. And you could expect for him to probably see some more of this type of action as training camp goes along. And so I think that this is huge for Lonzo, not just for the sake of this year coming up for the Chicago Bulls, but also too for just his long term, like what the rest of his career is going to look like. Because, for all the talk that we have around the young players and them kind of stepping into a new role, this is going to be a new role for Lonzo Ball as well. Because throughout his career, when he was healthy, he was expected to be a starter. I think now moving forward, he's probably going to be expected to be able to come off the bench and impact the game that way. Even if he goes and he moves on to a team that is a contender, more than likely he's probably going to be coming off the bench. There is probably going to be some starts at some point if one of the starters does go down, but you would have to think that he's going to have to learn a new role and how to impact the game that way. And I think that this is going to be huge for our younger players because with Ayo possibly coming off the bench, with Modest coming off the bench, he talked about using his IQ level more so than just the physical aspect of his game now that probably a little bit of his athleticism is slowed down. And I think having a player with a high IQ level like this on the defense and the offensive end is only going to do wonders for the young players coming off the bench because, with the limited amount of time that Lonzo is going to play with them, I'm sure he's probably going to put a player like Modest or Ayo or whoever else is playing in a position to where now when they catch the ball, they're going to be in this spot where they feel comfortable shooting the basketball or scoring the basketball, which is going to take a lot of thinking out of the game for some of these younger players. And I think that that is probably going to help them most as they continue to try to grow. In fact, I just had talked about Modest Buzelis and how he's trying to figure out the physicality of the game and shot selection. Running with a player like Lonzo Ball off the bench is going to help that out. And so he's looked good. And then also too, just to share a clip of how good he has looked and how he has actually blended with the youth, you see that this was actually a day or so ago where he is throwing a lob to Modest Buzelis. And so you see, man, he's really starting to find his way, but this is a great sign for the Chicago Bulls. And I'm not saying that they're going to win the Eastern Conference or anything like that, but certainly I think that he is going to help this team as it continues to grow. Next, as we shift focus here and look at the next player, that is going to be Josh Giddey. And so Josh Giddey, in his injury update, it looks like that he is now taking a little bit more contact. It looks like he's continuing to ramp up. And one of the things that was talked about on HGO's podcast is they talk about this Josh Giddey and this high IQ level and the fact that he is a risky passer. But I love that because, you get a point guard that is going to start for you that essentially is going to, I think, look a lot of our players open. So it's not going to look like they're open, but I think that Josh Giddey, his IQ level on the offensive end, he's thinking a couple moves ahead. And I think that this is certainly going to help this offense as they continue to want to play at a bit faster clip. And you're hoping that with his experience that he has had with OKC and being in some tough situations and going deep in the playoffs is really going to trickle down and take an effect on this particular team. That leads me into the next point with his chemistry with Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine, for what it's worth, he has been all in. I mean, he's been all about business here. He's looked very good. And I talked about this on yesterday's video that with Josh Giddey, it seems like as soon as Josh Giddey got traded, he linked with Zach LaVine via the phone. They've worked out in the offseason. And LaVine is super excited to work with Josh Giddey. And I think that one of LaVine's more successful seasons is when he had Lonzo Ball out there. So perhaps he is feeling like he's going to be headed towards a good season with a player like Josh Giddey on the other end. Can they figure it out on the defensive end is going to be the big question. But one thing that we are not questioning is the athleticism with Zach LaVine. In fact, this was just taken a couple days ago in practice. You get a chance to see just the athleticism. The bounce is still there with Zach LaVine. And I think a lot of people forget just how talented of a scorer and an athlete that Zach LaVine is. And I think that when you take the thinking out of the game for Zach LaVine, meaning he's not having the ball and then he's just forcing up shots this way, and you make the game very simple, I think that this is where Zach LaVine really takes off. And I think that that is going to do wonders working with Josh Giddey, and then also too having Lonzo coming off the bench as well. So with that being said, let me know in the comments what you think about this news, as it looks like that Lonzo Ball is trending towards getting back into the lineup with the Chicago Bulls. He did talk about in the podcast that more than likely he is probably going to be not showing or appearing in some of these preseason games as they kind of ramp him up. So that is one thing that I think he did reveal on his podcast. But more or less, he is still trending towards being available on opening night. Josh Giddey starting to look good as well. And then you just seen a clip with Zach LaVine. And so let me know in the comments who has impressed you most in training camp thus far as we get ready for next Tuesday's preseason game. And before we jump out of here, I want to thank everybody for liking, subscribing to the videos. It means a lot to us. And wanted to let you know that about 64.2% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed. So make sure that you mash on that subscribe button for me. It means a lot as we try to reach 5,000 subscribers. And even though it has been a long off season and we're finally here, I'm saying go Bulls, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.